Hey kids, this is Mrs. Sweeney, and we have a 1-point perspective horizon, and we have one vanishing point because it's 1-point perspective where all the lines converge, that one spot on the horizon. And then we have a grid. Most of perspectives based on boxes and grid, and it's going to turn into what looks like kind of a checkerboard though. And this is where we left off before. And I'm going to show you how we can take an object and make it look like it is getting further and further away. Now where my pencil is, this is the foreground, the row of the checkerboard that's closest to us. And so any object that's in the foreground coming at us closer will look like it's getting bigger, just like my hand. And then as it gets further away, row by row, towards the horizon, which is our eye level, far, far away, then it will look like it's shrinking. Now, I know that's pretty hard to see, so I'm going to put a blank piece right here. I'm going to show you an object. It's going to be a real simple one. It's kind of like a coin or a checker piece. And a checker piece would be really a lot like this. It would be very round looking if you're looking right at it from above, but as it goes to an angle, it's going to look like it's kind of squishing, and that's called foreshortening. And so when I draw it, instead of a big round checker piece, I would instead make it look like an oval. So it's like I'm kind of pinching the corners. So I'm going to draw a really big one so that you know what I'm drawing when I go a little smaller. So it's basically a circle that's laying back, and the front part's coming at us, back part's kind of laying back. And then I'm going to drop a couple little verticals from both sides straight down. And then to find the bottom thickness, I'm going to mimic or imitate this curve from up above, like the top of the wall, and I'm going to draw it at the bottom. And even if you never draw another checker piece in forever, it's okay because it's a skill that you can use for many things. Like if you was drawing a dog bowl, you would know that it's an opening that's roundish, but when it falls back and you're looking at it from a certain angle or view, then it will foreshorten and look a little bit smaller at a funny angle. And here's like a dog bowl. I can put Fido on there. So it's a skill that can be used many ways. Now I'm going to move this and show you. I'm going to place an object, and in class you can choose any object you want, but if you wanted to put a checker piece there, I'm going to draw that oval, or foreshortened circles, really what it is, bring down vertical from both sides, and then finish off the bottom of that thickness or wall right there. And then I'm going to go back a couple of rows, and anywhere I want to, I can do a smaller version of it. So there it is. Try to make it so you can see it. Drop the verticals down for the thickness, and then mimic that same curve at the bottom. And then I can go further and further away towards the horizon. Notice that all the rows are shrinking. We did this last time. And I'll put it, let's say I put it on the back row. Well, it can barely fit, and really you would even probably let it pop up a little bit beyond that square, and I'll drop a couple little verticals down, mimic that thickness, and I'm trying to make it kind of fit within that space. So you notice large, medium, small. So in other words, in the foreground, closer, looks larger, middle ground, medium size, and then far, far away, closer to the horizon, it has really shrunk visually, even though our brain knows it's the same size. And then next, I do want you to practice an alternating pattern, which will make it look a lot like a chessboard or checkerboard. And you can start anywhere you want to. So let's just say I'm going to shade this one. I could shade or tone it in with my pencil pretty dark, or I could just start just barely toning it in if I want to. You can always go darker. And then practice making a pattern. Now I could go horizontally with my pencil. I could follow the converging lines at the angles that I see. You can crisscross, do cross-hatching, however you want to shade it. Now I'm going to purposely do something called atmospheric perspective, because we know this is linear perspective, specifically one point, looking kind of square at an object. But atmospheric perspective, like Leonardo da Vinci was one of the first artists that would paint using that, where things looked a little bit foggier, dimmer, less color, kind of muted as you went further away. So you could even do this, even though we're just using pencil. You could make the shading like bolder, stronger in the foreground. So I'm not gonna spend like a ton of time on the shading. You can go slower and go neater and things like that. But as I go row further away, I'll make it a little bit lighter. And then I'm going a little further away. I'm going to purposely try to have a light touch and make it slightly more muted. Just a little bit foggier, and so on and so on. Oops, wrong square. That's okay, that's what my eraser's for. Now, some people even like to drop a pattern down in the front, so I'll just do a little bit of that because I have a lot of kids who choose to do that. I won't finish it out, but I could take my ruler, and if I wanted to continue this kind of checkboard pattern down this wall, I would use very vertical straight lines. Make sure my pencil's really hitting that point. Occasionally some people like to keep the dark square dropping down, almost like you slice through, you ever seen those cutting boards that are beautiful and it looks like the color just sliced right through, continues. Some people like to alternate the wall, darks and lights. Either way. But if I was going to continue this down, I could shade vertically because I'm on a vertical surface, so that would make sense. I could add a little extra shadow down here and then have it be a little bit lighter as it reaches the top of that wall. Maybe leave a little streak of highlight of the white paper showing through, because if I make it completely dark just like this, it'll kind of blend together and look like one solid shape. So I'm purposely showing contrast of darks to mediums or darks to lights to kind of push the illusion that it's more three-dimensional. Okay? And I'm going to emphasize it a little bit, but you can always spend more time in it as you go. Okay, we'll stop right there. Oh, I do want to show you one other thing. Here's a couple student works. Now notice, they used a different shape of object, stars, but still the object is larger in the foreground, medium size, and so light you can barely see it. And here's one more before we go. Looks like little traffic cones or safety cones. And so, but they started with that foreshortened circle. Almost looks like a hamburger, and you add like an upside down ice cream cone. Larger, medium size, small, even sticks up beyond the back. So that was very creative, different way, but shows perspective. Things getting smaller as they get further away.